Monica Jackson, a retired Navy SEAL's unexpected fight for justice. Lieutenant Commander Monica Jackson had spent 2 decades in service, facing some of the world's most perilous situations. Yet, nothing could have prepared her for the battle she was about to fight, not on a distant battlefield, but right in her own country, against a system she had sworn to protect. It all started on a peaceful evening. Monica pulled into a gas station, glancing at her phone to check directions. The air was calm, the station nearly empty. But lurking in the shadows of the parking lot was Officer Simmons, a veteran cop with a notorious track record, multiple complaints of excessive force, yet somehow still on duty. His sharp eyes locked onto Monica. Something about her presence, maybe her confidence, maybe her quiet focus, made her an immediate target in his mind. With a tight grip on his flashlight, he approached, its harsh beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating her face like an interrogation spotlight. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered, his voice sharp, already laced with assumption. Monica, ever composed, met his gaze. "Is there a problem, officer?" Her tone was steady, measured, not aggressive, but firm. "Don't question me."
"Out. Now."
Simmons barked, his stance rigid, his authority unchallenged, until now. Monica, well trained in de-escalation, knew there was no point in arguing. She complied, handing over her license and registration without hesitation. But Simmons wasn't looking for cooperation. He was looking for control. The moment she hesitated at his next barrage of invasive questions, his patience snapped. In a flash, he shoved her against his patrol car, pressing her face against the cold metal. "Resisting arrest, huh?" he sneered. "You're assaulting an officer." The words were spoken with venom, a calculated move to turn an innocent moment into a fabricated crime. Within hours, Monica found herself booked into custody, a falsified report painting her as the aggressor, claiming she had reached for his weapon. And history had shown, in cases like these, the officer's word usually prevailed. But Simmons had made one fatal miscalculation. The courtroom battle. The trial was swift, held in a grand courthouse where the weight of the system loomed over Monica like a heavy storm cloud. She sat at the defense table, her posture unshaken, her dark eyes locked on Simmons as he took the stand with exaggerated confidence. "She was aggressive," he declared, his voice dripping with certainty. "I attempted to de-escalate, but she reached for my weapon." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Monica's young attorney, Benjamin Carter, leaned in, whispering, "We need more. His word against yours won't be enough." But Monica simply gave a small, knowing smile.
"Patience, Ben.
The truth always reveals itself in time. When her turn came to testify, she rose with the poise of a seasoned warrior. The same strength that had carried her through perilous missions now steadied her in this fight. "I was checking directions on my phone when Officer Simmons approached," she began, her voice unwavering. "He didn't request identification, he demanded it. And when I simply asked why, he escalated instantly. The prosecutor seized the moment. 'So, you admit to questioning his authority?' he challenged." Monica met his gaze head-on. "I questioned his motives. There's a difference. One that goes to the heart of this case." Then came the moment that shifted everything. Benjamin played a bystander's phone footage, the video capturing Simmons in the heat of the moment, shouting, "Women like you need to learn how to listen." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. A ripple of disbelief spread as the judge called for order. The air had changed. The carefully woven lies in Simmons' report unraveled in an instant. The truth unfolds. During a recess, Benjamin rushed to Monica, gripping a file in his hands. His excitement was palpable. "We've got it," he said, his voice breathless. Simmons' personnel file. Dozens of complaints for excessive force, mostly targeting minorities and women. "They tried to bury it, but we found it." Monica inhaled deeply. She had known from the beginning. This wasn't just about her. It was about every person who had suffered in silence, without the chance to fight back. "Then we make sure they're heard," she said firmly. Back in the courtroom, the truth hit like a wrecking ball. Benjamin laid out the evidence. The once confident Simmons began to sweat, his smug demeanor cracking under the weight of his own history. Officers in the gallery shifted uncomfortably, silent, but no longer standing in support. Then, Monica delivered the final blow. She stood tall, her presence commanding the room. "I am Lieutenant Commander Monica Jackson, retired Navy SEAL." The words rang through the courtroom like a gunshot. A stunned silence followed. The jury leaned in, their perspective shifting in real time. "For 20 years, I defended this country, risked my life for the principles of justice and equality," she continued. "I have faced enemies abroad, led teams through treacherous terrains, and stood against some of the greatest threats imaginable. But never, never did I expect to face such abuse of power right here at home, on the very streets I swore to protect." Simmons turned pale. The verdict and the aftermath. The jury needed less than an hour. The verdict? Not guilty. But Monica's victory was bigger than her own acquittal. The jury formally recommended an investigation into Simmons and the department's practices. The judge, visibly disturbed, ordered an immediate review of his past cases. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Monica stood tall, her military discipline unshaken. "This isn't about revenge," she told the cameras. "This is about reform. We entrust law enforcement with power, but with power must come accountability. Today, we took a step in the right direction. And that step ignited a movement." Monica's story spread like wildfire. Police departments across the country revisited their training protocols. Internal investigations were launched. And Simmons? He was dismissed, later facing criminal charges. But Monica's true victory wasn't in his downfall. It was in the conversation that followed. She became a powerful advocate, speaking at conferences, training precincts on ethical policing, and pushing for unbiased enforcement. Her voice, once used to command in war zones, now carried a different kind of strength, the power of change. Months later, she stood on the courthouse steps, the sun setting behind her. Her phone buzzed, another precinct inviting her to speak. She smiled. Her Navy SEAL training had prepared her for combat, but it was her unshakable moral compass that led her to this victory. Because sometimes, the hardest battles aren't won with strength alone, but with an unrelenting commitment to truth and justice. Like what you heard. Subscribe for more stories that challenge the way you think. Because in a world full of noise, the truth still matters.